And for the White House perspective on these hearings and more news of the day, let's bring in Chris Megerian. He, of course, is the White House reporter for the Associated Press. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So do we know if the president is watching these hearings at all? Is the administration kind of keeping tabs? And what are they saying about these hearings?
Sure. Well, the White House says that the president is definitely keeping tabs on the hearings, although it doesn't really appear that he's watching them live or consuming all of it. Most interestingly, the Justice Department has said that they're watching the hearings very carefully, and that could inform their decisions on how they move forward with some of their prosecutions as well. But I would say the White House is sort of keeping it a bit at arm's length. They view this as a very important thing. This goes right to President Biden's focus on democracy, but they also want to show that they're keeping front and center the business of governing the country as opposed to providing commentary.
Yeah, and some of that business of the country is dealing with inflation, the economy, and, of course, gas prices. ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods said today at a forum, quote, "You're probably looking at 3 to 5 years of continued fairly tight market. How that manifests itself in price will obviously be a big function of demand, which is difficult to predict." So what kind of challenges does this pose for the president, and how are Democrats reacting to this proposed gas tax holiday, which President Biden said yesterday that he was considering?
Well, this is a really challenging thing for the administration. There's not a lot of great levers to improve the situation. The war in Ukraine shows no sign of easing. It could go on for months or even years, and that could provide continued pressure on gas prices. The president's already been releasing oil from the strategic reserve. And now, to consider the gas tax holiday, it really shows how few options he has to, slice the price of gas even by, 18 cents or so a gallon. So I think what you see is them kind of grasping for options at a very politically fraught moment when there's not a lot of good ideas on the table.
Yeah, and since they are limited in scope in terms of how they can address some of this, and especially inflation, I mean, they keep pointing to the Federal Reserve, which, of course, raised interest rates last week. President Biden has been really pushing aside, progressive criticisms of renominating Jerome Powell as Fed chairman. And, when he did so, he cited his leadership throughout the pandemic. But now Powell faces some more recent criticisms from a broader group of people. Can you explain kind of what the basis of that is, and how is this White House addressing it?
Sure. I think there's basically two issues right here. One is that Powell and the Federal Reserve have faced criticism for underestimating inflation. It's been worse than they expected, and that they're, sort of the criticism that they're playing catch up at this point to try to, address the problem now. The second issue is that one of the ways to stop inflation is to slow the economy. And people don't want the economy to slow down. They don't want to see higher unemployment. They don't want to see lower wages. So that's opening up to a whole nother amount of criticism. And then for the president, he has, two issues here. One is he wants to keep the economy strong. He is very proud of the low unemployment rate, but also inflation is a huge political problem for him right now. He needs to find a way to bring it down. So that's a real balancing act. On top of that, he can't really control what the Fed does. They're an independent, regulatory body, and he has really focused on keeping that independence in place. So, once again, he has a difficult balancing act, not a lot of good levers to pull.
Yeah, and a lot of political consequences for him and his party heading into the midterms. So we will be keeping an eye on this as we move on. Chris, thank you so much for your reporting. We really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.